Hi, I'm Chap Bettis, author of The Disciple Making Parent, and this is my audio blog, where I read some of my blog posts in audio format for your convenience. In today's episode, we're going to be thinking about the question, what to do when you and your spouse don't agree. And specifically, we're going to be thinking about we don't agree about child-rearing decisions or philosophy. Well, the classic conflicts that newlyweds face, where to squeeze the toothpaste, which way the toilet paper rolls, have their equally classic counterparts in parenting. What activities do we choose, and how many? Can the kids play before their chores are done? Do the kids even have chores? What's the response to someone not finishing what's on one's plate? Disagreement in child rearing can be a common occurrence. After all, two well-intentioned Christian parents will have different approaches to child rearing, child discipline, and the individual decisions that we each have to make for our children. This article does not address if your spouse is not a Christian or you're a single parent where the other parent actively undermines you. Perhaps, though, you can still find some principles in it that can help. Well, the following are 6 suggestions to help you and your spouse agree or move toward agreement on child rearing tactics. Number 1, value each other. Dads need the perspective of moms, and moms need the perspective of dads. There usually is something valuable that each of us can hear if we pay attention to the concern of the other. Often, this may be discerning the difference between the position of the other and the interests of others. So you can read the post on positions and interests or listen to the episode that covers that. You need to understand the valuable difference between positions and interests. So number 1, value each other. Number 2, realize the biblical call on both men and women to parent. Scripture says that an elder, and thus each man, is to manage his own household well and see that his children obey him with all respect. That's 1 Timothy 3:4. If the children are wild and disobedient, it comes back to the dad. That's in Titus 1:6. On the other hand, moms are God's intended primary disciple makers and heart shapers. And in most cases, it's the moms who are the ones who are most tuned in to the kids. So number 2, realize the biblical call on both men and women to parent. Number 3, fight sinful temptations. The most common sinful temptation is for a man to give up his role as a leader in the family. Perhaps that's because he doesn't know what to do or because he feels his wife is the expert when it comes to the children. And at the same time, it's not uncommon for a wife to take control and subtly move her husband's leadership and influence to the side. Though he still plays with the kids, the tough parenting decisions and policy making come from mom. On the other hand, some dads can be tempted to be overbearing while mom is passive. Moms, let me encourage you here. You need his input, see number 1, because God has him as the leader of the home, see number 2. Dads, you're ultimately responsible before God to lead your family, so stay vigilant. So number 3, fight sinful temptations. Number 4, seek out common child-rearing teaching together. It's vital that both a husband and a wife learn together and discuss together. This will allow you to make decisions based on the same information. Learning together cannot be overstated. The sinful temptation for a passive father can begin because he hasn't received the same common teaching alongside his wife. She knows more than he does. Well, that leads him to feel inadequate. So number 4, seek out common child-rearing teaching together. Number 5, present a united front to your children. Try not to disagree in front of your children. Agree with the other parent's decision in front of them, and then if necessary, make time to talk about it later. And again, I talk about that in the podcast and in the blog post about the coffee date and the notebook. Number 5, present a united front to your children. In this one will have several different pieces. Number 6, discern the size of the disagreement and take appropriate action. The biblical call for a husband is to love his wife by seeking to understand her and take the lead. And that plays out differently for each couple. How are couples to handle disagreements? The following suggestions are meant to be applied in order from small issues to big ones. A. Drop it. For small matters, maybe you should simply let it go. You can register your concern, but given the myriad of decisions and the amount of time we have, some decisions need to be entrusted to the other. And in terms of the day-to-day choices for the children, that usually means the mom. As involved men, we need to watch out that we're not micromanaging our wives. And moms, prone to fearful control, need to give in to some decisions that make them nervous. So we might just need to drop it. Or B, talk about the disagreement behind closed doors. I've already suggested this in number 4, but some immediate decisions may need to be talked about in private. You may need to decide to drop a controversial issue for the moment and then discuss it later. C, talk about it later. Coffee date is a perfect chance to bring up bigger issues when there needs to be some time for each party to understand all the concerns of the other. How many disagreements become fights because we're trying to rush an important and complex discussion? Coffee dates were invaluable in our parenting years. And as I mentioned before, just see the post, The Power of the Coffee Date. As I stated before, that extra time allows you to differentiate between positions and interests. So C, talk about it later. D, pray about it together or separately. Some big decisions you're disagreeing about will dissolve as you pray about them and ask the Lord for His promised wisdom. When both Sharon and I would do this, there were times where we came back together and one person had changed his or her mind. So pray about it together or separately. E, seek informal counsel. Bounce questions off wiser, more seasoned parents and pastors. Listen for things you might not be thinking about. Humility will compel us to ask for insight that we might not be seeing. So ask a friend, what do you think I'm not seeing in this? E, seek informal counseling. And F, seek formal counsel. On a few extremely important issues, there may be such a large disagreement that neither party thinks he or she can yield. In this case, it can be helpful to seek formal counsel. In 1 Corinthians 6, we're commanded to bring disputes to wise counselors for judgment. So it can be helpful for a couple in a healthy church to agree to lay out their disagreement before one or two pastors and abide by their counsel. So seek formal counsel. Remember, disagreements about parenting are inevitable. Disunity does not need to be. Thank you for listening to the Disciple Making Parent audio blog. This article is found in the material of our video course, Parenting with Confidence. It's our video-driven study on the biblical foundations of parenting so that you and your spouse can be united together. It's specifically aimed at parents of young children. You can find more information on our website or at parentingwithconfidencestudy.com. Thanks for listening.